a new movie directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and both of them were writers for A Quiet Place, and A Quiet Place was one of my favorite horror films of going into 2018. It made it to my top 10 list. And just because of that, that caught my attention. So Haunt takes place on Halloween night, and this group of friends travel to this haunted house located in this weird, obscure area. They believe they're in for a fun, thrilling night, but they end up having to fight for their lives, and we have the movie Haunt. The reason why I like Batman so much, because he's the guy, he always finds a way to beat his opponents because all of his opponents is stronger than him. And the reason why, he is the underdog. And I like underdog stories. I root for the underdog teams. I always like underdog. I like, be low budget movies. Most of them are shit, but there are some that could be gems here. And going into Hunt, knowing that Scott Beck and Brian Woods are both directors in this movie, and they were writers for The Quiet Place, I wanted to go in this movie with a little bit of optimism. But after watching the movie, I have to say that this movie was entertaining despite its budget. The budget was kind of a detriment to the film a little bit. But for me personally, I still enjoyed some of the thrills in this movie. One of the things the movie did a good job in this movie was the location and the atmosphere. You felt claustrophobic. The film did a really good job of making the audience, making you feel like you're actually there. The possible realism. Like when you go to an actual haunted house, you have this sense of claustrophobia. You feel constricted, and you just like, you feel like every turn you make, there is someone behind you. There is someone like going to scare you. All these feels you had when you go to an actual haunted house. And these characters have the same feels, but it's elevated when their lives become in danger. It draws in that tension, and you can feel the realism like you was there. Despite some of the performances of these characters, the characters were a bit of a cliche in this movie, but not the type of cliche where you're just like bored. The characters were fine in this movie. You had the one character that texts a lot, one character that, that has a boyfriend, and one guy who is a single guy, but he's obnoxious. It has all those particular character tropes that you have seen from other horror movies, but that doesn't take away from this movie. The good things about this movie was the sound design, and also the production design, and also I did like some of the scene setup. Certain scenes that did a good job of setting up certain scares, or certain moments where the characters is like wondering what is going to happen next. And that revolves around the sound design in this movie, and the sound design was actually pretty good, and I was just like at awe, because for a low budget film with good sound design, I had to give a little bit of a clap. So yes, this movie does feel like a B movie, looks like a B movie, it feels like a B movie. It gave us exactly what we wanted. A haunted house done right, because last year I reviewed a movie called Hellfest, and that movie revolved around a group of friends going to a haunted house, but it was done poorly. And I felt like this movie was done right. It did a good job of capturing the scares. It did a good job of making you feel claustrophobic, and you actually felt that you was there. And the performances were decent in this movie. And now there was some flaws in this movie that was plausible, but those flaws were only nitpicks because of, it's just the traditional tropes that you would see in every horror movie. One of the flaws in this movie was there was like a weird flashback scene where they tried to develop the main character, and that scene was kind of weird. But after thinking about it, I kind of agreed with that scene a little bit, because it actually gave the character the good sense of development to making me care for her a little bit more than the other characters. They didn't have that scene in the movie, I probably wouldn't really care for the main character as much as I did if I haven't seen that scene in that movie. But the best part of this whole entire movie was Katie Stevens. Katie Stevens actually did a good job playing her role in this movie. She plays the main character, Harper, and she makes some decent decisions. She didn't really make some over-the-top dumb decisions. Well, there were some, cliche dumb decisions that the characters had to make because the film has a specific runtime and it needs to meet that runtime, but it wasn't a detriment to the film. This movie had blood, this movie had gore, but you don't really see a lot of blood in the movie to like the second or third act, so it's gonna be a while before you see much blood. This movie was actually a diamond in the rough. This movie has some decent performances from its cast. Main star Katie Stevens did the best she could with the script she had, and she delivered. The movie did a good job with the sound design in this movie. The sound editing was really good. You actually felt claustrophobic. You felt the tension and all that, the thrill, that sense of urgency that the characters have, because you know they're trying to escape, but there's like it's like a small closed-in area. There's just so much that the characters can do. As for Hunt, I'm going to give this movie a Christian Bale Batman. I had a huge problem with the third act though. It just kind of bogged down the movie for me, but that's just me personally. So guys, have you seen Hunt? What are your thoughts? Comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next review. And if you like everything you see and you agree, subscribe to my channel and join me in the Batman family. I'll have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been haunted. Till then, ciao.